Mutton rendang. Rich, tender, and deeply spiced. An iconic dish of the Malay world, rendang is more than it appears. It's slow cooked with care till the meat turns meltingly tender, coated in a thick caramelized sauce. But did you know there's a South Indian dish that rivals rendang in complexity and boldness? Meet the mutton peratal, a stir-fry curry that's just as aromatic, just as full-bodied, but with a fiery Indian twist. Two dishes from different roots, both showing what happens when meat, spice, and thyme come together in perfect harmony. Here's to honoring traditions and embracing every flavor. Welcome to Same Dish But Different.
Welcome back to another episode of Same Dish But Different.
Woo!
Here are the dishes for today.
Oi! From the vibes of it, it looks like a rendang. It looks like what I would see every single year. This one, the color a bit orange compared to this. This is, I think a little bit darker.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? This to me screams Mustafa Center. Legit, it is an Indian dish. It's not a Malay dish, I think. There is some spice that the Indians love
It's
to
sharper.
use. And it's sharper. And it's very, very flavorful. It's like it packs a punch. This is like loaded with spice.
And everything nice. I'm gonna smell like that. Easier
Okay.
for me. Ooh!
Oh, so like what?
Doesn't smell like they fried the meat already, then they do it with the sauce.
Wow. It looks like a really good bite. Okay, like that I must take more. This one then I think is rendang. Because there is the sweetness that was present here, but it was absent here.
Yeah, usually in Malay food, there's a bit of sweetness to it, even if it's spicy food.
Try the bread.
Wow, generous.
That's a heaping amount. His feet is up in the air.
Right, that's why.
Who made this?
Who?
Hi, I'm Shirin. I'm from Shirin's House of Rendang, a small home-based business that I actually started in late 2024.
I'm Chef Bala. I'm the current president of the Indian Chefs and Culinary Association of Singapore. And I cook mutton peratal.
And I cook mutton rendang.
I started off as a teacher and I realized that's not my cup of tea. So I went to help my father. He used to run restaurants in the late 70s and 80s, which were one of the bigger Indian restaurants in Singapore. From there, I garnered the passion and the interest in food. And eventually, I started off as a hawker.
So I've actually always enjoyed cooking, and I actually decided to learn how to cook was when I found out my mom was ill. She actually had cancer. I told myself that I had to learn how to cook her dishes that she always cooks at home so that I will always be reminded of her, especially her very famous rendang.
Basically, peratal means to stir. So it's a stir-fry kind of thing, but it's semi-gravy. You know, Sunday everybody's home, then mom's whipping up a good meal. So every Sunday you can see mutton peratal in every Indian household. And then eventually now it's like a festive thing. So Deepavali and all that, people definitely will have this mutton peratal at home.
So rendang is actually a very flavorful meat stew. So usually people actually serve this during celebratory occasions like Hari Raya. And to me actually, I've always felt like rendang is a luxury because we only eat it during special occasions. Yeah.
What is that one ingredient that you feel like mutton peratal cannot be missing?
Definitely the mutton. Usually I like to use the thigh meat because it's leaner. Of course it's got a bit of fats, but very little. You need that little fat to bring out the lemak flavor, you know. Of course, if you cook it with bone, It tastes better, but nowadays I think people prefer it boneless.
Rendang is actually typically cooked with either chicken or beef, but today we are going to cook it with mutton. I'm actually using mutton in bone. So in general, mutton in bone is fattier. So with the fat, it gives the rendang a deeper and richer flavor. So usually what I would do is whatever protein, maybe if it's mutton or beef, I usually would actually boil it in a pot for at least 2 to 3 hours.
Okay, so first basically you need to boil your mutton. When the water is boiling, you need to add the whole spices, cinnamon, star anise, cardamom and cloves, together with the bay leaves, turmeric powder, cumin powder and a bit of coriander powder. So when you're pre-boiling the mutton, you cook it for about 3/4 cooking texture. If you cook it fully, you tend to overcook. Strain it, keep the mutton stock aside as well and the mutton. When you start cooking, the basic ingredient, oil of course, and then your star anise, fennel seed, your cinnamon stick, your curry leaves.
Ah, it's an Indian dish because there is a cardamom! This is the bomb that you whenever you eat like, wow!
If you feel that you don't want to bite on the cardamom, what you can do is you can do a potli. Potli means just a small muslin cloth. You can put the spices in, you can tie it, and then you can throw it into the oil. But why I'm doing this is because when I throw it into the hot oil, the oil actually absorbs all these flavors. And then the flavors are stronger. And of course, to get rid of the gamey smell, the flavors really need to be strong because we are pre-boiling the mutton.
So once I'm done with the meat, what I would do is I would cut up my onions, ginger, galangal, turmeric, lemongrass, and garlic. Okay, so I will blend them all together to make it into a paste. And once I've done that, I will saute it in the pot with oil with the chili paste to make the rempah. So usually I would cook it for about an hour. I think an hour is a good amount of time for the oil to break.
Once you get the aroma from the whole spices, you add in your onion and then your green chili. Once it's halfway caramelized, you add your mint leaf and then caramelize your onion. And once they're turned brown, then you add your tomatoes. Once you add your tomatoes, saute until the tomatoes get smashed. Add your ginger garlic paste.
When you eat this dish, right, you can actually pick out the different key spices. Whereas for this one, I think everything is really well blended. Like you won't suddenly like, hey, got cardamom. I think for Malay dishes, right, we tend to blend first before we cook. So we make it into like a rempah. Whereas like for Indian dish, typically I think they just like put in the spices as it is.
So the rempah has the tendency to dry up and I don't want that to happen, right? So I actually use the mutton broth, I add it into the rempah and let it be a little bit more watery again and then slowly dry up. So it really depends on the consistency that I want. So once that is done, I will take my sliced turmeric leaf, my sliced kaffir lime leaf together with the coconut milk and I will cook it together inside the rempah for another half an hour. Turmeric leaf and kaffir lime leaf is actually very important in rendang. Ingredients like your ginger, your onions, your garlic, they have a very strong fragrance. So you want to balance it out. So the turmeric actually has a very earthy scent, so it kind of smells like the grass lah. Why does it smell so good? Can you smell it now? Yeah. Kaffir lime leaf has a very citrusy scent which makes it smells even more fragrant. So when you add the kaffir lime leaf together with the rempah, right, it gives you a very unique smell and also the flavour to the rendang.
So you saute your ginger and garlic paste until the raw smells goes off. That's when you add in your mutton, add a pinch of salt and add water just enough to cover the mutton. Let it cook for about 15 minutes. Why I'm doing this is because it softens and it also creates a natural stock within your base which you have created. So after it's cooked for 15 minutes, then you add your spices, turmeric powder, coriander powder, your chili powder and your cumin powder. And then you simmer the thing for about 15 minutes.
Once that simmers inside, I will add the pre-cooked mutton or beef into the pot and then I'll just let it cook for another half an hour to 1 hour, after which I will add the curry seed towards the end.
I feel like I can taste the roasted coconut inside here, the curry seed. Because you see all this liao?
Yeah, all the hairy.
Yeah, that one is roasted coconut lah.
Oh, okay, maybe that's why I thought like it was like fried before they fry because of the roasted coconut.
Cres is actually toasted coconut, so it's actually like a brown color paste. It actually has a very nutty smell and it has a very thick consistency also. So if you add Cres into your rendang, it does change the consistency.
Once you start simmering, you will see the oil rising up from the mutton paretal. So if you think you have excess oil, you can scoop up the oil. Finally, just add the coconut milk and simmer for further 15 minutes, and then you are done.
And your mutton rendang is ready.
And your mutton paretal is ready.
At first glance, mutton paretal and mutton rendang may seem similar. But when you take a closer look, each choice of ingredient is shaped by the distinctive Indian and Malay culture. Each dish is passed down from generation to generation to allow cultures to live on and be shared through food in the Lion City. In the end, mutton paretal and mutton rendang don't compete. They coexist by celebrating the diversity of Singapore and allowing food to connect us all.
We ended early!
It is now 4:18.
Woo! Unheard of for Eatbook shoot. Hey!
Thank you for watching this episode of Same Dish but Different.
If you like this episode, you can check out more over there. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.